Does creativity count as being gifted, but also being talented also counts as being gifted. So talents usually appear in early childhood if they're going to be there. Talents have to be nurtured in order for them to reach a full potential. So parents need to be warm and sensitive, need to provide a good stimulating environment to foster that talent, get them good teachers who can provide a lot of instruction on how to get better at their certain talent. Maybe it's playing the piano, maybe it's playing the trumpet, maybe it's soccer or baseball, maybe it's math or physics. So they're going to need instruction, and also parents can provide models of hard-working people, showing them that people have to work hard in order to achieve. So that can be a good thing for these kids to be exposed to. So a lot of gifted children, you might realize, can be socially isolated at times. This is partially because they're highly driven in their specific field. There's less time to go out and run around and play in the neighborhood if you're going to 2 hours of piano practice in the afternoon after school. They tend to be very driven, they tend to be non-conforming, also they tend to be very independent. So their social isolation is partially due to those sorts of factors that leaves them a little bit out of step with kids of their own age. But another reason they do this, or might be a little bit more isolated, is because they might prefer to just play by themselves. They might actually enjoy more so being by themselves. But gifted children still desire gratifying social relationships, and and this is more often the case for gifted females than males, some of them are going to try to be better liked by their peers by hiding their talent or hiding their abilities. That is obviously not going to be a good productive thing for the kids. A lot of talented youths become experts in their fields. Although a lot of them do become experts in their fields, very few of them become highly creative in that field because rapidly mastering things that are already set there for you to learn, existing things that are already known about, acquiring those sorts of skills and learning those is different than what it takes to innovate in that specific field. So being creative in a field requires different stuff than does being talented in a field. How to educate gifted kids. I'm not really going to talk a lot about this because it's less so important. But there is some debate about how to go about teaching gifted kids. The debate fosters is going to focus on things that are completely irrelevant to being gifted in the first place. Providing a richer environment in the classrooms or pulling kids out for special instruction. Which way should we go about doing this? Pulling kids out of the classroom for more advanced instruction is the most common thing that happens. Overall, what you're going to see is how good these programs are is going to depend upon the type of talent or the type of gift the child has. What sorts of activities they're allowed to do. So maybe for linguistic intelligence, you have someone who's very skilled at linguistic sorts of things. So they might be better off at doing activities like coming up with advanced stories or narratives, or maybe writing poems or books and that kind of thing. Maybe someone who has spatial intelligence might be better fostered by sculpting things or drawing things or making things, taking things apart and reassembling them, that kind of stuff. Maybe kinesthetic intelligence, that's movement of body parts and balance. Maybe those kids would be fostered through dance sorts of things, or acting, or pantomime, that kind of stuff. So really it's going to depend on what the skill is that they have that's advanced, and just how much time they have out of the classroom, and how the teachers deal with that. How well educated are North American children? We've talked about a lot of things about school, a lot of different cognitive capacities of kids. Just how smart and how well off are North American kids in education? A lot of factors go into determining this, both within and outside of the school system. There are a lot of things that affect children's learning. Things like societal values, different school resources, the quality of teaching is a big one, and parental encouragement to do well in school. If your dad thinks that all that matters is how well you do at a football game on Friday night, then you're probably going to spend less time learning your vocabulary words. There you have it. U.S. students fare pretty poorly when we compare them to the achievement of other industrialized nations. So when we look at studies of comparisons in reading, mathematics, and science achievement between internationally, what we find is that typically what you see is Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, and Taiwan are consistently the top countries for these skills. Among the Western nations, Canada, Finland, the Netherlands, and Switzerland are typically in the top tier, and students in the United States usually perform at the international average and sometimes below it. So something is going on here that we're not doing as good as other nations. So why is this? So compared to students in the top achieving nations, what we see is that many more U.S. students report studying by memorizing rather than by relating information to previously acquired knowledge. So remember we talked about those mental strategies, those remembering strategies, so elaboration, repetition, organization. Kids in the United States are more likely to try to just memorize things, so saying them over and over and over again, rather than completely understanding what those things mean. And when you think about something more deeply, you remember it better. You think about it at a deeper level, and it connects it to information that you already have. Oh, this is what I know what addition is, so subtraction. Oh, subtraction is the opposite of addition, and you start linking it to information that you already have. So that's more effective, and kids in the U.S. are less likely to use that strategy. Also, achievement varies much more in U.S. schools because we have an uneven distribution of the quality of education. So we have some really good schools, we have some really shitty schools. We have some schools that you can pay to send your kid to, private schools, that kind of stuff. And you also have these very poor inner city schools that are overcrowded and don't have a lot of money. So the distribution of quality of school varies in the U.S. More so than most industrialized nations. To clarify the factors that support higher achievement, we have looked at the differences between things and ways that kids are taught in Asian nations and here. So we look at these higher scoring nations, these nations that have kids who are achieving very highly, and we want to see what are they doing differently in their education system than we are. There's an emphasis on effort there. North American parents and teachers, they tend to regard natural ability as the key to doing well in school. So being like, this is your ability, this is how good you are, that's kind of it. That's the way it's going to be. But Japanese, Korean, and Taiwanese parents and teachers, they believe that all kids can succeed and do just as good as everybody else if they work hard enough, if they try hard enough. Parents devote a lot more hours to helping kids with homework and stuff after school than we do in North America. This is another thing that's related to their collectivist values, doing good as a family unit. Typically, they strive to achieve as more of an obligation to the family and to the community than just for themselves. I am part of this family unit, and if I'm not doing well and not contributing substantially, then that makes all of us look bad. Next, they have high quality education for everybody. Everybody gets the same high quality education in these nations. There isn't these situations where you have the poorly funded schools in the inner city where the teachers are severely overworked and underpaid versus these higher maybe private Catholic schools or something like that where you pay to have your kid go to those schools. That's not the case in these other Asian nations. Ability grouping is completely gone from the Japanese and Korean and Taiwanese classrooms. They do not group kids based on ability. So those reading groups or that public comparison, that doesn't happen there. They do not group them. They all get the same education. They all get the same information, all get the same teaching and exposure to the same material. So all students receive the nationally mandated high quality education delivered by teachers who are better paid and better taken care of than we take care of our teachers in the United States. We keep cutting funding, we keep cutting education spending. Our teachers are being treated like the scum of society. They're not very valued. But in these Asian nations that are achieving pretty highly, teachers are motivated to do their job because they're well respected for it. They are looked at as a key part of the community. So their lessons tend to be well organized and presented in ways that keep the kids entertained, that keep their attention, that are interesting to the kids, and also encourage higher level critical thinking skills rather than just rote memorization and repetition. More time devoted to instruction also in these classrooms. In Japan and Hong Kong and Taiwan, the school year is more than 50 days longer than it is in the U.S. And on a day-to-day basis, Asian teachers devote more time, a lot more time, to academics and academic educational things, but still allow time for things like field trips and recess. They have a longer school day, more time is devoted to instruction, but they still allow time for field trips and interesting stimulating activities. Overall, the families and the schools and the larger society in the United States is going to have to all work together to be able to improve the state of our education system. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Chapter 9.